Hi everybody, Amber here from Atomic Photography. This week I'm bringing you a photography question and answer session. I hope you enjoy. Consider subscribing to my channel if you're new here, and let's get this started. So I reached out to my followers on Facebook and on Instagram and asked them what they would like to ask me in terms of questions, and so I have a couple of them here. The first question is from Jiten. Jiten has a really good question actually, which a couple of other people asked as well, and that is, what sort of equipment do you need for low light photography? So first off, obviously, you try and make sure that you've got the best lighting conditions that you can in order to capture the images that you're trying to capture, but that doesn't always happen, whether you're at a friend's house or whether you're at a party, and also whether you're chasing around your kids trying to get pictures of them. They don't always care where the light source is coming from, and things might be dark. So as far as possible, where you can control the lighting, turn all the lights on if you are indoors. Try and put your subject near a window if you can. So just maximize the light, the available light that is there. Second off, invest in a decent digital SLR camera. So there's a setting on those types of cameras called the ISO. You can basically shoot in low light a lot better with a good digital SLR camera. I would also invest in a hot shoe speed light or flashlight. So I would get an external flash, not just the little pop-up one on most cameras. The reason why I would invest in a flash gun is because you can generally, most of the models have a swivel head at the top, so you can turn the light to face directly at your subject, or you can turn it upwards to bounce the light off a ceiling, particularly in English homes where we've got lower ceilings. You can actually bounce the light from the ceiling, and it gives a quite even light. The other thing is if you buy a lens, there's something on a lens that is the aperture or the f number. And generally, if you buy a lens that has an f number of 2.8 or less, it will enable you to shoot in lower light situations. So there's a couple of factors that help light get into your sensor in your camera. That's the ISO, that's your shutter speed, and it's your aperture, which is that f number that I'm talking about. So if you get a decent lens, you can do that. If you're in the Canon system, I have a Canon 50mm 1.8 f-stop, and you can get those for under £100. So those are the kinds of things: a decent SLR, a flash gun, and also a decent lens with a low f-stop number on it. I have another question from Amelia. Amelia asked me, what kind of camera gear should I get when I start up? I made a video on how to get started in photography, which did cover gear a little bit, but I'll talk a bit more about it now. I get asked, I think that's one of the most common questions that I get asked, is what gear should I buy? Or I'm looking to invest in a camera, which camera should I buy? And it all really, there's no one answer to that question, because it depends on what you're shooting. So if you are looking to invest in a nicer camera than just your iPhone, if you're not looking to get into sort of commercial photography, I definitely look at some of the amateur photography lines. There's loads of makes of camera that you can go for. Now, I've always had a Canon camera and I really like the Canon system, so I would probably look at starting off with a Canon 200D, which is what I'm filming this on. It's under £500 and it's a really good sort of powerful starter camera. There are ranges that are less expensive than that, but if you want to get sort of, really nice imagery where you get the depth of field, where you can have a variety of different lenses so that you can shoot different types of subject matters, whether that's, family, or whether that's travel or wildlife or landscape, whatever you're into. It's a really versatile camera to start off with. But just be mindful that when you buy into an SLR range, you're going to have to invest in lenses as well. So it's not just the camera itself. And the kit lenses that come with a lot of these cameras can tend to be a little bit soft. A lot of people seem to want to have really sharp images, me included. And so, you might end up having to invest, a couple of hundred in your camera, but then a couple of hundred in some lenses. That's not always in everybody's price point. So, I kind of go, okay, well, think about what it is you're shooting. If you don't need to do commercial photography, if that's not what you're getting into, you just want some really good images, you can go for point and shoots. And Sony do a really good one, Canon do a really good one. I'll put some links in the description below so that you can see the range of things that are available out there. But I would definitely look at those because you can print really decent shots off some of the non-DSLR point and shoot type of cameras. The other thing I would also say is if you are looking to get into it a bit more commercially, then as I said in my other video before, I'd build up your gear slowly. So I would definitely, if you're going into commercial, I would go for a digital SLR camera. I don't think you have to go for the professional range cameras necessarily, but I would urge you to, if you can afford it, get a full frame camera. That said, there are some, so not in the amateur range necessarily, but there's something called prosumer. So it's not quite professional, it's not quite consumer, but it's somewhere in the middle. And I'd probably start off there. And that's where I started off. I had a 20D, so it wasn't top of the range. I still don't have top of the range. I'm normally one or two models behind the absolute current version of my camera. So I have a Canon 5D Mark III. I could have bought a Canon Canon 5D Mark IV, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to be on the bleeding edge of technology. So, look at the prosumer ranges. I would say the ATD, Canon ATD is a really good place to start with from a prosumer perspective. It takes really good video, it takes gorgeous images, and so I think that's a really nice place to start. In terms of other gear that you need, again, it depends on what you're shooting. What I would say is invest in some spare batteries. Those are really, really handy. And if you are going to be shooting video, I would definitely invest in some sort of microphone. I think my microphone cost 30 or 40 quid. It's by Rode, and it's the diddiest, the smallest one that they do. So I haven't gone overboard in some of my peripherals, even for my vlog setup. The lenses that you invest in, again, I would say invest in what you can afford. I try to get lenses for what I do, which is beauty, fashion, travel, photography. I try and get ones with low f numbers, low apertures, because I like to shoot in different lighting conditions. I can also shoot sort of flowy material and dresses and things like that, so that helps. There's some really good resources out there that give you advice on exactly which lens to buy depending on which system, whether in terms of the make of the camera and in terms of the subject of the type of photography that you do. So it depends on what you're shooting, really. So buy the best lens that you can. Like I said, if you're going to invest into the Canon range, I would definitely get the 50mm 1.8 lens. It's a beautiful little lens for taking pictures of people on. But I've done landscape photography on it too, and it looks really, really stunning. Another question that I had was, what do I pack for long haul journeys? So when I'm traveling, what do I tend to pack? So I'm actually going to be doing a video very soon. I'm traveling to Hawaii, and so I can show you in more detail. So please hold fire on that question. I will be answering that in a whole other video on its own. Another question, one from Sundal. She's a model and she's modelled for me in the past, and she was asking on behalf of her photographer boyfriend how to pitch to clients. Now that could be a whole video in itself. I guess pitching to clients, whether you're in photography or any other industry, is very, very similar. And I'll give you a sort of short answer here, but I will do a more in-depth video on this in the next few weeks. I would definitely say you need to do your market research. If you understand what your strengths are, so if I think about myself, my strengths are in beauty and fashion photography. If I was to go and pitch to a designer, for example, I would do my research on that particular designer. What does their website look like? Who are they tending to work with? Who have they commissioned in the past? What sort of language do they use in their marketing materials? And see where the alignment is between your brand as a photographer and their brand as a designer or whatever their product might be. From a fashion designer point of view, I would look at their imagery. I'd maybe do a bit of an assessment myself in terms of their strengths and weaknesses from what I can see from their imagery. And I would make suggestions around the value that I add potentially to their imagery. Find out who the contacts are. Now, you can do this in a number of ways, whether that's on the website, and not everybody puts their contact details on the website, or roles and who does what. The other way that you can try and find some of that information out is on LinkedIn. A lot of photographers miss this as a trick, actually. They tend to use Facebook or Instagram as their platform. But actually, a lot of professionals in the fashion industry particularly are all on LinkedIn. They'll have profiles on LinkedIn, whether you're a marketing director, a creative director, an art director, a designer yourself. You'll be on LinkedIn if you're a serious professional. So I would look on LinkedIn. You can search a company name, find out who the people are that work there, and make your approach. And in your approach, I would first start off with a very short introduction to who I am. I would then talk about the brand alignment between the work that I do and the work that they do. And then I would pitch an idea. And the idea, and it can be any idea, you obviously want to come up with your own, but the idea has to be something that's different to what they've already done, or a slightly different perspective on the kind of imagery that they've already done. And the value that I bring. What's my unique selling point? What's my USPs in what I bring to the table to them versus the people they've already hired? Because most people have already hired somebody in when you're going to go and make a pitch. If you don't have your own brand aesthetic as a photographer nailed, I really would start to think about that before you pitch to your clients. Because if you haven't really sorted out who you are and how you present yourself to the world, it's harder for clients to see what they get from you and what they are buying into. And people buy people. People buy into a style and aesthetic. People might buy into your values. So really think about what you as a brand stand for. So those are the highlights. In my more deeper video, I will go into examples and sort of, a bit more of the flow and the process of, how you do your research, then when you make contact, initial contact, how to persevere. Perseverance is a very big thing when it comes to pitching to clients. And whether it's clients, whether it's collaborations as well, I think the same principles apply around making professional approaches. Know your stuff, know who you are, look for the brand alignment, add value to who you're trying to sell to, and the rest will hopefully all fall into place. I had quite a few questions asking me when my next video is going to be with my daughter. Sorry, I've got a squeaky chair. My daughter wasn't very well this week, unfortunately, and she had a very aggressive viral illness. She is turning the corner, thankfully, today, and her fever seems to have broken. So we've had a bit of a scary week this week, which is probably why I look a bit sleepy in this video. I haven't slept very well this week at all, but Lana will be back. We are going, like I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to Hawaii very soon. So hopefully we'll do some vlogs of our trip. So thanks for asking about Lana. But yeah, I know she's the star of the channel, really. It's not me. So she'll be back soon. Sorry if I didn't get to answer all your questions. I will do another question and answer video soon. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, just either post them in the comments below or follow me on Instagram or Facebook and get your questions into me, and I'll do another session like this soon. If you did find this video useful, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, hit the bell button so that you get notified of when I post new videos. I try and post every weekend, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care then. Bye.